So no agreement with the EU, but
Television Network. You're welcome to Sports Extraordinary. Of course, we have a lot to dish out this evening in sports, and always it promises to be, catchy. It promises to be engaging, and like we do it every other weekday. Today is going to be a bumper show here. Of course, we're going to look at some issues that are that will thrill you, the viewer, wherever you are watching us live. All right, but today on the show, we'll take a look at the UEFA Champions League. That is the thrust of our discussion here on today's edition of Sports Extraordinary. And joining us in the studio, we have our guy, Epalebo Kingsley, Emmanuel Michael, and of course, we'll have to do a whole lot. And then on air, we have renowned Lagos-based sports presenter, sportscaster, analyst, just name it. Ufoma Egbamono will be joining us live on the show for proper analysis. We're going to quick break now. When we come back, we'll have more to talk about, and of course, the guys will also be speaking with us. Don't go anywhere. This is Atlantic Television Network.
People into the country illegally. That is amazing.
Honorable
you human trafficker.
Honorable of preparation, we saw them over the past couple of months, what they've been able to do, when it comes to preparation. The likes of Nkanem Consider, he had record-breaking time last month, and he was able to reproduce that form in the All-African Games in the semi-finals, beating his personal best, to get the job done there, to get into the finals. I wouldn't be surprised to see this Nigerian set of runners, gets to the podium. Nigerian clearing the podium finishes, the gold, silver, and bronze. It's not something that is impossible. The likes of Jamaica and the rest of the US, they have been doing it over the years, and I think it's something that is not impossible with the quality of talents we have coming into these All-African Games. Nigeria has what it takes, to clear every medals on that table.
Clear every medals on the table, and I mean, as it stands now, we are second now, subject to any other, stuff that happened. But since it is the concluding period of the tournament or the championship, one expect Nigeria to hold strong, even if we can't get to the medal haul like the Egyptians have done. But Nigeria in athletics, what are the prospects of achieving or racking many medals like we saw in weightlifting and wrestling, Michael?
Of course, the prospect is that we have a whole lot of quality athletes out there. The likes of Toby Motion, the likes of Ekanem, the likes of Ruth Usoro, Brume to mention, but a few. These are top class world athletes out there that definitely will be rest assured that they are going to rack up especially gold medals in the athletic event out there, because like I will keep saying, the athletic event is the only area of our comparative advantage, and we must also maximize that our area of advantage by making sure that we rack up the gold medals that is very available in that angle of it. The weightlifting, they did us proud, wrestling, they did us proud. These are areas of our own, strength, and just like the athletes, we must also make that count as well. Looking at the fact that likes of Egypt and South Africa, they are going for the jugular against us, closely pursuing us very tight out there. Egypt, the goal disparity or the medal disparity between Egypt, who is seated first, and Nigeria is quite, the disparity is too much, about 91 gold or so far. Compare that to the 27 that Nigeria have. I mean, there is a long margin out there. But then, the likes of South Africa, the likes of Algeria, they are going toe-to-toe against Nigeria, 26 gold and 25 gold. You see how close the proximity is there. So we must, as a matter of urgency, maximize this our area of strength, which is athletics, by making sure we rack up the necessary gold medal that is available out there, so as to give countries like Algeria and South Africa a very clear margin.
A very clear margin, and I did mention earlier that I will be joined by a renowned sports enthusiast, one man who understands the workings of sports analysis, followed sports for a very long time here in Nigeria. Ufoma Egbamono joins us. Ufoma, good evening and welcome to Atlantic Television Network. Hello, Ufoma, can you hear me?
Excuse me. Hello, good evening, and thanks for.
Okay.
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me, and good evening to everyone watching.
Okay, we're actually talking about before we delve straight to what we have to look at this evening. We're currently looking at Team Nigeria performance at the ongoing African Games in Ghana. It is the athletics period right now, but let me get your take on your general perception so far, looking at the medal table. What do you think we have done well for ourselves as compared to what the Egyptians are doing or what they have done too in the last 1 week?
To be very honest with you, I haven't been following the All Africa Games as much. I just a few what's it called events that I probably see updates online. That's about it for me.
Okay.
I have not followed the All Africa Games, so I might not be able to give you something. I don't talk much about something I have very little information on.
Okay.
My apologies.
No, okay. No, not at all. I mean, from what the guy said, it looks like our comparative advantage or our competitive advantage lies in athletics. We have, like clearly now, we have 3 of our athletes in the finals of the of the 100 meters. We also have some of our lads doing so well in different categories. So hopefully we will not be surprised to see Nigeria doing so well, you know, in athletics, and we're expected to get at least, I mean, guys, if we have anything less than 5 gold medals in athletics, that would be, will you rate that as a failure?
Yes, for me, I think it would be a failure looking at the strength of Africa and Nigeria. When it has to do with athletes, we are a powerhouse. I think the only country that can topple us when it has to do with athletes is not athletes per se, but on a long distance race is the likes of Kenya and Ethiopia. But when it has to do with the 100-meter hurdle race, 200-meter, 400-meter, 4x400-meter, definitely Nigeria is a force to be reckoned with here in Africa. So if we don't get more than 8 or 10 gold medals, I'll be very disappointed.
From athletics,
definitely looking at the strength of our contingent when it has to do with the athletics. I mean, most of our athletes are in the best of their form right now. The likes of Ruth Usora mentioned earlier, the likes of Ekanem, the likes of Toby Amoshu, Ese Brume, to mention between a few, these are world-class athletes that is ready to sweep every gold medal that is very available. So I will be disappointed if Nigeria don't get to, make it up to 8 or even 10 gold medals, looking at the strength of our squad.
Yeah, I think we have what it takes to get our gold medals, but let's not underrate, our opponents, the likes of the Egyptians. They're also there, but from someone like Toby Amushan and what she has done over the years, you expect her to replicate that form, in the All-African Games. Toby Amushan alone would, I think, she'll participate in up to 3 events: the 200-meter, the 200-meter hurdles, and the 4x400. So I think I second what Emmanuel Michael is saying. Nigeria has what it takes, to gather all the gold medals, in this category. The likes of Ekanem consider. We saw what he was able to do in the semi-finals. Was able to come out first, and also the likes of Adego Keys of this world. They will be able to do what I think might be a overhauling of every gold medal in those competitions where they are participating in.
Well, tonight, I'm sure I will get some of those results from Ghana, but let's stay away from Ghana now and look at the thrust of our gathering here this evening. And I did mention to you, the viewer, that I will focus on the UEFA Champions League. Last week, we saw the draws in the quarterfinal stages of the UEFA Champions League. A lot of anticipation, a lot of permutation before that draw. Finally, that draw came alive, and a lot of talking point already. We are looking forward to when the quarterfinal will start. Ifuma Bamono, let me start with you on this now. The UEFA Champions League quarterfinal draw has come and gone. We now know the parents. What was the feelings like when you saw the draws? Was it what you expected? Let me start with that.
Well, I don't know if it was what I expected. To be honest, I even saw the draw just 2 hours afterwards because I had a training I was in, so I really wasn't following it live as I would have loved to. So these draws, you really never know. Sometimes you get the luck of the draw. Sometimes you don't. I'll take a good example of the FA Cup draw. This is me trying to take a slide away now. United were on the brink of losing an FA Cup game to Liverpool, and then found a way to win in additional time. And they got on paper the best draws, and you could possibly argue that they are 70-80%, even though United can be crazy, but they're 70-80% sure of getting to the final. So that's how these draws can be. Atletico Madrid look like they might have been knocked out by Inter Milan, especially after conceding the second goal in both ties, but found a way to get an equalizer almost immediately, and then got the second goal that they needed and won on penalties. And you could argue that on paper they've gotten the easiest draw, even though football still has to be played on the pitch. But it's tasty. You have a repeat of Madrid and Manchester City that has been going on for about 3 seasons now. You have the Bayern versus Arsenal clash. So I think it's tasty. It's what we have come to, and I've had issues with the Champions League in recent years where the games are just are not as great as they used to be, until we get to the final 8, the quarter-final stage. It seems that's where the competition starts, because it just feels like some of the weaker teams are paired against some of the big teams in the round of 16. You can easily say, oh, this person, will qualify for the last 8. Sometimes we have one big team playing another in the round of 16 in the last 3-4 seasons, but it hasn't really brought out. We haven't really seen some stiff opposition coming up against each other as we've been used to. I guess even UEFA themselves noticed that, and that's why from next season there's going to be an overhaul of how the Champions League will be played. But to a large extent, the fixtures are great. I'm really looking forward to first week of April.
Okay. Before I go straight to the parents, one after the other, we're going to analyze them. Do you think there is there's a drop in standard? If you look at the last 10 years of the UEFA Champions League, do you think there is some form of sort of drop in the standard player-wise at this stage of the competition, where you get to see the big boys? Do we still have them? Generally, do you think there's a drop in standard in the UEFA Champions League?
Well, that's what I just alluded to. There has been a drop in standard. That's okay. Not even in doubt. There's been a drop in standard in the UEFA Champions League, and that's why for next season, European competitions will have a different format. Where you would have to play 4 games, play 8 games, 4 games at 4 games away, and every point you get and every goal you score will count. You will have 36 teams in the pool, 36 or 38, I'm not entirely certain now. You have those teams, and then play 8. You play 8 games, 4 at home, 4 away, and the first 8 teams out of the lot will qualify automatically for the round of 16 and will be seeded. And then from position 9 to position 24, we'll now have to play against each other to get another 8 that will now qualify for the round of 16, making it a situation where every team will take every game they play very, very serious. Sometimes some teams, they will have qualified after the first 4 games in the group stages as we have it now, and then play a second team, in their 5th and 6th game, because they've already qualified either with 10 points or 12 points. But at this point in time, from next season, UEFA has made it in such a way that every game you play will count. Every game in the group stage will count. Every goal you score will count. Every goal you concede will count. So even UEFA themselves, they have noticed that that to a large extent the competition has dropped in standard. For all I know, we have the Champions League I started watching in the late 90s and coming into the middle 90s, late 90s, and coming into the 2000s. It's probably not as great as it's been over the last 5, 6, 7 seasons. There's been that whole lot of drop, but thankfully, let's see what will happen from next season with this new format from UEFA, and let's see if to some extent we could have the standards go up.
A good one there you just expressed, and I must say that when you understand the workings of the UEFA Champions League, it looks like the big boys, who have the financial strength to always dominate, the league. But before I get to you on that, before I get to you on an X-ray of the teams now, let me come back to the guys in the studio. Parable, do you think that a lot of people have alleged that those boys the teams with the financial strength are the teams that always, because of the way the league has been fashioned, always get the nod to always lift the UEFA Champions League? From what Ofoma said now, do you think that aligns with the drop in standard we talked about?
No, I don't think it has to align with the drop in standard. You look at the UEFA Champions League, it has to do with the history of the club and the quality of the club generally. It doesn't have to do with money. The likes of PSG have spent the whole lot of money they could spend. They've spent billions. They've brought in the best players in the world. They've brought in the likes of Neymar, Messi. They have wonder kid Mbappe. They've brought in the likes of Sergio Ramos, and still they haven't been able to win the Champions League. Arsenal, when you talk about top 10 teams in the world, when you talk about financial power, top 20 you could talk, they still don't have the UEFA Champions League. So I think it's not just about the financial power, but just it's about the history, the tradition of the clubs. Teams like Real Madrid, the likes of Manchester United, Bayern Munich, and Liverpool. Liverpool do not really have the financial power when you talk about it, but they've been able to uphold the standard when it comes to the Champions League, because they understand what it means to win the Champions League. So I think it's about the experience in the Champions League. You see teams like Real Madrid, they might not just be in the best of forms when it comes to the La Liga, but when it comes to the Champions League, they are ready to give their all, and that's why we're able to see them win it back to back to back. So I think it has to do with the club itself and the history that that club has in the Champions League.
The beauty of the Champions League, why we wait for next season to come, Michael? The beauty of the Champions League is the fact that it's, it's the epic league, in Europe, and of course, the best league in the world, So, but does that in any way spur teams, to want to do best in the league, to see if they can get a ticket to play? And that could be part of the reason why the leagues are, heightening up, especially as we prepare for next season, where there will be a reshuffle of the format.
Absolutely. It's the reason why teams in different leagues are hustling to ensure that they get the Champions League qualification, because arguably the Champions League is the highest club competition ever in the history of football, and that is why teams struggle and they scamper so hard to make it to the top four so that they could clinch that Champions League spot. You know why? There's a whole lot that is involved. The monetary aspect of it, the fame, the glory. These are some of the things that makes up some teams out there. Look at the English Premier League, jostling to ensure that you finish as the top four so that you go for the Champions League. And of course, when you go for the Champions League, there's a whole lot of pores that is open for you to golf in a whole lot of money, courtesy of you taking part in the Champions League. We just got to the quarter-final stage. We know if you take it, A to C spending, or the money that some clubs have recouped so far, courtesy of getting to this quarter-final, you agree with me that it has added a whole lot of strength financially to their teams out there. We talked about the playoff the other day. When you get to play in the playoff, you start with $5 million. You get to the group stage, you go home with $10.5 million. That is excluding any game that you win out there, because if you win each game, you get to go home with additional $2.2 million, and if you get a draw, you are going to go home with $930,000. That is how it is. And for the quarterfinal, you are short of racking up about $16.6 million.
Like the 8 teams now that are in the quarterfinals.
Exactly, $16.8 million. Add up that financial strength that you have got from taking part in the group stage, and if you get to win some of the games, get to this far, you agree with me?
So that's motivating alone.
Exactly.
The financial
incentive as well is motivating alone. Not to talk about the glory that comes with you lifting one of the highest trophy in the world of football. I mean, these are some of the things that make teams to jostle and fight so hard to make sure they get to that Champions League spot. And that is why some teams like PSG, which my colleague Palebo talked about, have spent a lot of fortune just to lay their hands on the Champions League. It might not be for the money aspect of it, but for the glory and the bragging rights of it, because this is a very, they call it, a holy grail. And if you go by that name, that is what it is.
And it's assumed that it must be one of the big teams, or if
you want to be an elite football club, you must lay your hand on the Champions League. Other than, if not, you become a local champion like Arsenal.
Let's not bring the argument of Arsenal. We'll come to that anyway. But for my Bamino, the studio is getting heated now, and that's why we need you to come in now. Let's look at the parents. Manchester City against Real Madrid. The last 5 games, it's 3-2 in favor of, 3-1 in favor of Manchester City. And with the way they are going, they are the defending champion. They've not lost any match so far this season, the UEFA Champions League. What is your take on this particular pairings, and possibly who do you think will go through?
Okay, before I talk on that, let me just add my 2 cents on the earlier conversation about money or no money.
Yes.
The honest truth is that it's only the big hitters. 90% of the time that the big spenders that will win the highest trophies, like it or lump it. The Liverpool, one of my mates, before this era, before the 20th century, this 21st century era when they won in 2005, and just a few years ago, the time Liverpool won the other 4 European Cups, they were the biggest team in England. They had the biggest players, they spent the biggest money. Real Madrid, we all know, biggest spenders. Manchester United, same thing. Yes, there are exceptions to the rule. The exceptions where you have Porto winning in 2004, where they might not have been the biggest spenders, or a Red Star Belgrade in 1987 or thereabouts, or a PSV. Yes, there are those exceptions. But since the UEFA Champions League became the money spinning round, since the early 2000s, where we had that change of format, it's the only exception to the rule has been Porto. Every other person that has won it has been big spenders. Some have spent big and haven't won. PSG is a clear example. But you want to win it. In today's present world, it's very rare to see a repeat of Ajax's win in 1994. When you compare that Ajax team and the Ajax team you have today, it's almost impossible. Yes, they came close some years ago, but it's almost impossible. But as for the pairing, Manchester City versus Real Madrid, that's some crazy clash, I have to admit. As it is right now, Real Madrid, the way they played all season, you have to give them a lot of credit. They suffered a lot of injuries. They've had a couple of their players out, long-term injuries, their goalkeeper, but the substitute has come in and done absolutely well. Militao has been injured for almost all season, and Ancelotti has found a way to chop and change and get the results. They've only lost twice all season. But if there's that one team that can take out Real Madrid from the Champions League, it's got to be the team they are facing, Manchester City. Manchester City haven't been, to be honest, they haven't been great this season. They haven't been as excellent, as they were on their way to the treble last season. But the one thing you have to also give credit to Pep Guardiola's team is that almost always they find a way to get the results. I don't think we will have the same blitz with which City went past Real Madrid in semis last season when they knocked them out by defeating them by 4 goals to nothing. I'm not sure we will have that. However, it's going to be a very, very close one. Real Madrid have I think around 8 points lead over their nearest rival.
That's correct.
Yeah.
It means that they have a bit of a breathing room, a breathing space with which they can rest 1 or 2 key players the weekend before the Champions League game. Unlike City, who are neck and neck in a 3-horse race involving themselves, Liverpool and Arsenal for the Premier League title. And so City don't have the luxury where they can possibly rest a Haaland or maybe Kevin De Bruyne if he's fit, in a Premier League game ahead of that quarterfinal pairing against Real Madrid. Although City have got a great squad, they have a very good squad where 1 or 2 players can afford to sit on the bench. So all in all, I think that's a game that I honestly cannot call, especially because there's no away goal rule. So you probably have to win and win well, possibly, to get past the other. Real Madrid have a knack for when you think they are down, they will get a result. I'm looking forward to that clash between Vinicius and Kyle Walker on that left-hand side. Looking also what the midfield would look like. Real Madrid can afford to allow Man City get all possession, have all dominate the game, because they know that they can go on the quick counter with the pace of Rodrigo or Vinicius, and of course they have Jude Bellingham who can run into the box and head those balls here and there. So it's one clash. I think it's the pick of the bunch. Whoever wins that tie, most likely are the number one favorites to go on and win the Champions League.
What about you? Agree that whoever wins this one, like former said, might just be in the final. Oh, finals, yes, and possibly win this year's edition.
Yeah, obviously, I mean, look at the pedigree of both clubs, what they've been able to do over the past 5 to 6 years, and the form these clubs are in. You look at it, they have, arguably, these both teams have the best squad currently in the world. They boast of the best players in the world. So I think whoever wins this clash might go on to be the favorite to win the Champions League.
And then we look at players for players, Michael. Haaland was the magic that Pep needed, the icing on the cake. Last time when he won the treble. But he has not been that brilliant. Even if yes, of late he's been very, very formidable for the team. But when you compare the likes of Vinicius Junior, Bellingham, yeah, like I said, no doubt, good players they both possess. But when you look at players' tactics, who stands tall? Carlo Ancelotti, Pep Guardiola.
For me, I think they are at par with each other. Player for player, tactics for tactics. I think this is the best pair for me. But I think Madrid have a little advantage when it has to do with player for player, because I think they have.
You think so?
Yeah.
But, I mean, with the embodiment, squad, the depth that we've seen with the City side, you think that I mean, the La Liga giant truly have what it takes to really cause an upset?
I think so. They have what it takes to cause an upset, because no two games.
I don't agree with you.
No two games are like. You might not agree with me.
You look
but it's an opinion.
Yeah, you might not agree with
opinion.
me.
It's an opinion, but you look at this Real Madrid side. They can't even boast of a proper number 9 to fill in that position. Jude Bellingham has been the one, once in a while, steps into get into those positions to score those goals for them. Joselu has not been what they dreamed he would be. And you look at this team, they are thinking of bringing in certain Mbappe into the squad to fill in that gap of number 9. So you look at this squad, you can't say they're at par. You look at the injury worries that this team has faced, and look at the squad depth of Manchester City. And Manchester City were literally winning games without their best player, Kevin De Bruyne. So I think when you look at it, players for players, I think Manchester City has the upper hand to Real Madrid.
Let me come back to you, it seems the guys are not in agreement as to tactics and players where the pendulum will swing to. Your opinion on this?
Honest, I think both managers are both tactical geniuses. At a point in time in his career, I never had so much regard for Carlo Ancelotti and when it comes to tactics. But you could argue that over the last 3 seasons, for me, one of the most improved, in my opinion, managers has been Carlo Ancelotti. He pulled out some amazing tactical geniuses that even me, I was like, where did this come from? Never knew him to be that much of a tactical genius. He's a great manager, but tactics, I'm not sure I would count Carlo Ancelotti as one great man in that aspect. But he's done quite a lot. I think in his second or his third coming now at Real Madrid, that you have to give props to him. In terms of tactics, trust me, I'm not sure you can separate any of them. I would think that Manchester City on paper slightly has the better players, slightly. However, this game will most likely not be decided by the question of the better players. I think it will come down to who takes their chances. And for me, I love the fact that it would not depend on somebody scoring an away goal, counting as 2. The away goal route off, So it will boil down to who is able to take their chance in the first and the second time. The way it is, City can as well go to the Bernabeu and win. The same way Real Madrid can come to the Etihad and also win. That's why I really cannot, differentiate both. And I'm not judging from last season, because I think last season is gone. This is going to be a different encounter. City are not as bullish, and excellent as they were on their way to the treble last season. So I'm not expecting to see that 4-0 whitewash like they had at the Etihad last year. Which, if, and I also look at Real Madrid. Yes, they might not have the ultimate number 9, but they're getting the job done. They are winning games. I think the team that has beaten them this season in the La Liga is Atletico Madrid. And apart from last week, when Atletico lost that, because of course the manager decided to rest a few of his key players, knowing that he has absolutely no chance of winning the La Liga game. He's more focused in Europe and all of that. Nobody has actually gone to the Wanda Metropolitana and won. Athletic beat Real Madrid there. But Real Madrid at home can do. They can get the goals from anywhere. Vinicius can make those runs. Bellingham can make those runs. You've got the ageless pace in the middle of the park. City will obviously dominate possession. That's their trademark. But the quick counters from Real Madrid is going to also be another problem. And City have shown this season that they are very, very vulnerable at the back, because they've been conceding goals that ideally you don't think the very best of the City teams will concede.
And then, guys, let's go now to the most talked about draws. I looked at Mikel Obi when he picked the first draw that day, and it was Arsenal versus Bayern Munich. I don't want to come to you, Palebo. I don't want to come to you. Let me start with Michael, because I already know what you have in mind. And he laughed. He chuckled. Arsenal, I mean, the biggest nemesis. Obviously, Edu never been expected that they should be pairing against Bayern Munich at this time. Do you think that that's a perfect pairing for them?
Yeah, for this season, I will say yes, it is a perfect pairing. Looking at the, both sides, their league form, Bayern Munich is actually struggling in their league, with 10 points adrift of the league leader, talking about Bayern Leverkusen, after so many years of dominating the Bundesliga. But then you will say when it comes to the Champions League, Bayern Munich is a different Bayern Munich altogether. They are a very different class. But if you take a look at this Arsenal team for this season, they are the second most informed clubs in the whole of Europe after Bayern Leverkusen. Arsenal have been scoring the goals for fun. Their backline, they are defensively very strong. Their midfield very tight. The likes of Martin Odegaard and the rest. Declan Rice doing a great job out there. Martinelli on the far left, coupled with Bukayo Saka on the right, they have done an excellent job. So if there is a time in the history of Arsenal to play Bayern Munich in the Champions League, I think this is the time. And if they don't get the pound of flesh of that 10-2 humiliation, I think they will have themselves to be blamed.
Now, let me reverse it to say, Ofoma, that they have different fates. I look at that pairing and I have ambivalent feeling. Arsenal very good in their league as compared to Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich, yes, in the round of 16 we saw where they faltered, but they came back strong, and that shows the intent, of trying to rebuild or achieving something this season. Because the Champions League looks like their only roadmap to getting something, maybe a solace for the way the team have gone this season. Do you think that this is going to be a revenge for Arsenal, or more like doing everything possible to also get something this season? What's your proper opinion in this regard?
So, to be honest, I don't think that from an Arsenal point, by the way, I am an Arsenal fan. I guess my shirt already told you. But then again, I'm one who, I like to be very realistic. When it comes to analysis like this, I to a large extent do not let my emotions, as a fan, get the better of my reasoning. It's very easy to say on paper that this is going to be like a revenge mission for Arsenal. But honestly, I don't think that that's the case. I'm not sure, apart from the manager, I'm not sure that there's any member of this present Arsenal side who was there the last time the team were beating 10 goals to 2.
That's correct.
This is a new look Arsenal side. Xhaka was there, but Xhaka is no longer in the Arsenal team presently. This is a new look Arsenal side, and to a large extent, they can do as much as they can take. as a fan, I would have honestly preferred to play the other German side, BVB. That Borussia Dortmund. That's the on paper. That's the least team on paper. But of course, I know football is not played on paper. However, sometimes when I hear some analysis of how Bayern is going to beat Arsenal home and away, I chuckle. I chuckle because to a large extent, if it's the same Bayern I've been watching all season, that a lot of persons are hanging all that hopes on, I don't know, maybe they're probably watching another Bayern. The CEO of Bayern, Karl Rummenigge, he granted an interview to the biggest German publication, Bild, today, or was it yesterday? But I saw the quotes today. Let me rephrase some of the things Rummenigge said. Rummenigge said that Bayern Munich fans should stop thinking that they are over their inconsistencies. That they beat a Lazio side that are not great, and that the team they beat 8-1 in the Bundesliga, Mainz 2 weeks ago, is third from bottom. Darmstadt that they beat this past weekend is the bottom side. So, if you look at the results Bayern have gotten over the last 3 weeks, and think that it's an indicator to show that, oh wow, when it comes to the Champions League, they're going to win home and away. I'm sorry. The same way Arsenal beat West Ham 6-0 and beat Sheffield 6-0, it's not the same way they're going to play against Bayern. It's the Champions League is a totally different ball game. But if I'm looking at the Bayern I have watched almost all season and how inconsistent they've been, you would think that, like, one of my colleagues said, if there's ever a time that Arsenal got a chance over Bayern, it's probably now. Man for man, you would argue, and you're very correct, that Bayern are the more experienced side. I think to a large extent, experience could just about be the final arbiter in this encounter. Bayern's experience, they've been in this situation. They won it just 4 years ago. They have players who have been there, done that in this tournament. The likes of what's his name again, Thomas Muller. Harry Kane might not have played so much in the competition, but he has a history of scoring goals against Arsenal, especially when he was in England. They've got a couple of players who have been there, done that. A lot of the Arsenal players are going to play their 9th game in the UEFA Champions League on April the 9th. Just 9 games. Trust me, that could count. That inexperience could count against them. And that for me is why I think that Bayern had 52% chance of going through as opposed to Arsenal's 48%. But if you are looking in terms of player for player, consistency, form, what these two teams can bring to the table as it is right now, I don't think there's the Arsenal players should have any fear coming up against Bayern. Bayern have been very, very important. Bayern are not that great, and I would say this, to anybody who has to listen. They might as well win the game, April 9th. They might as well come to the Emirates and win at the Allianz Arena. But on paper, looking at that team, Bayern are not as great as a lot of people think they are. It's okay to do the banter, okay to be the rival fan who doesn't know. Plus, again, let's not forget, Arsenal can find a way, unfortunately, to disappoint when it matters the most. So those questions will always arise. The mental block, can they get past a hurdle? Can they do it on a cold night at the Allianz Arena? Those questions will continuously be asked about the Arsenal team until they win something. But if I look at how that team has been set up, especially till the turn of 2024, how defensively good they are, how they don't give the position a lot more chances, I think it's going to be a closer affair than many people think.
What can we say? Time is not our friend. I would have allowed you to air your view on that. But let's talk about PSG and Barca. Um, PSG, this is going to be the last season for Kylian Mbappe. Can he make a difference for the side? Maybe get one past Barca this time.
I think it's going to be very tough for Kylian Mbappe, to get that one over Barca. But he's going to try his possible best. We've seen him; he's been able to carry this team, on his back over the previous years. We saw him; he was able to get to the finals of the Champions League. Unfortunately, they could not win it. They lost to this Bayern side. But you look at this team now. This PSG team is a different team from what we saw a year ago or 2 to 3 years ago. Not much of star players in that team. The likes of Verratti, Sergio Ramos, Messi, Neymar are no more in that team. We are seeing a different team altogether. The likes of Ousmane Dembele, Asensio, Likang, and the rest of the young gens coming up in that squad. We're looking at the coach there, Luis Enrique. He has the experience of winning the Champions League, and you made a very important point there by pointing out Kylian Mbappe. This is his last dance with PSG. He would want to create history with this team, this PSG team. He would want to win it. He would want to win the Champions League with PSG, and I think he might try, but coming up against a Barcelona side that has the Champions League heritage, with the likes of Xavi there, and a talisman like Robert Lewandowski, who has an eye for goal. When it comes to the Champions League, he knows how to score goals. They have those players that can perform. The likes of Gundogan is in that team, although you could talk about that they have a depleted squad, and the manager who is going to resign at the end of the season. I think Barcelona will still have the edge over this team. This PSG team is a team that is still evolving, and maybe we might get to see the best of PSG from next season, but I still think Barcelona has an edge over this PSG team.
Former, if you had to pick between PSG, Barca, and Atletico Madrid and Dortmund, how easy will it be for you to predict who gets the winning odd in these two games? From are you there? Can you hear me?
It's not. Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
I said I'm putting my money easily on Atletico Madrid reaching the semi-final right now, here and now. I don't have too much doubt about that. BBB would, play, of course, but Atletico will do the job over there. It's the same easy way I would, take the Barca and PSG. To be honest, that side of the draw is not as great as this side of the draw that has City, Real Madrid, Bayern, and Arsenal. PSG, I would argue, are a one-man team. I've not been Kolo Muani hasn't really done much for the team. Dembele has flattered to deceive a couple of times. If you find a way to keep Kylian Mbappe quiet, which is a hard job to do, I have to admit, then to some extent you keep PSG quiet. If you watch the group stages, I honestly think that they met Real Sociedad at a very wrong time for the Spanish side. If it was in December when that draw were done, I would put my money on Sociedad getting past PSG. Unfortunately, since December, Sociedad have been on a downward spiral, like they've been terrible. So I wasn't shocked or surprised when PSG went, and PSG went past them on the strength of a Kylian Mbappe. So he might eventually be the difference, because even Barcelona themselves are not Barcelona of a couple of years ago. But one thing you also have to give credit to Xavi for is, even with a team that on paper might not be the very best, he found a way to win the league title last season. They started this season, but somehow they went past Napoli. So I think that tie is a lot closer. I honestly cannot predict who would go through, even though Kylian Mbappe might just be the standout person there. He just might be the standout person there, but not sure I can readily just tell you now that, PSG will win that tie or Barcelona will win that tie. The one tie I can readily put my money on right now The athletics is definitely past Borussia 100%. Put your money on that.
No, but on paper, I don't know why you are very confident of this particular pairing. Because the first game we played at Wanda Metropolitano. Yeah, I'm asking that.
I'm confident because Atletico Madrid are a hard nut to crack. Atletico Madrid at home are almost unbeatable. For the 3-0 defeat over the weekend, I can tell you for a fact, forget it. If Diego Simeone was going for the title, he probably would not have lost that game. And because they know that they all but have no chance to win the Champions League, the coach can as well decide to rest his key players on Saturday or Sunday before this game. Atletico will find a way to get a result in Dortmund, but I'm pretty certain they will beat Dortmund at the Wanda Metropolitano. That's the easiest draw for me as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, let's see. I mean, we're counting on already to the quarterfinals, and so I'm sure during the period we're still going to come back to revisit some of the analysis done here today. But guys, let me have your, okay, it's early days to even predict. Let's keep it pending and wait the week when the quarterfinals will come alive. Many thanks to you, Ufuma Igbamuno, for joining us live on the show today. We really appreciate here at Atlantic Television Network.
Thanks for having me.
We appreciate when you have a legend. I mean, we started following Ufuma Igbamuno when we were very small, listening to him. Getting to have him live here is a delight. Guys,
honestly,
maybe one word for him.
I think he's a superhuman. I could still remember when I was in Lagos, I followed every bit of his content out there. I never knew I could get to at least, be with him on the same set.
When I told someone that Ufuma Igbamuno will be coming live on the show, he said that he remembered
the advert in the former station he worked here in Port Harcourt. Then they actually said, when Arsenal scored the goal, I told my girlfriend, stand up. So,
beautiful. Obama, your memory is here is massive. It's massive. We missed you, and the only way we can, share this euphoria is when we get to see you live like this. Just know that you have really touched a lot of hearts, back here in Port Harcourt.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Guys, many thanks to you guys for also being part of the show. Kensley Palibo and Emmanuel Michael. This is Atlantic Television Network. Ekpo Temple is my name. We'll do this again tomorrow. Do have a lovely evening. Bye-bye.
Oh, what a point to end it on. So now this is when they're at their best. That's when they're 12 years for this. So drink it in. Still goes to Andre New Zealand. What he loves to be immortality as an athlete. 19.79. It's a goal. It's 8 goals. People into the country illegally. That is amazing.
Honourable
You human
On the point of order.
Honourable
On the point of
They are not picking our calls. They made up their mind.
So no agreement with the EU.